So next up is Yassal. She's going to have a difficult conversation. No, she's going to prepare for a difficult conversation.
Well,
Totally different. Okay, stage is yours.
thank you. Hopefully, we're not going to have a difficult conversation today. My name is Yassal Sunman, and I really do want to talk to you about how you prepare for difficult conversations. So, just so we're all on the same page. And step one, cultivate a conflict culture. I know this is probably not the first step you were expecting, but bear with me. So here's what happens. We interact with other people. We find that things are difficult and they're not really working, and we need to have this conversation. But that's scary, and we don't want to have that conversation. It gives us this uncomfortable pit in our stomach. We're really worried that it's going to lead to conflict. We're going to worry that this is going to become bigger. So we might as well just, sweep it under the rug and hope that nothing's going to come out of it. And I think the reason that we do this is because most of us probably grew up thinking about organizations through a consensus theory. And what does consensus theory say? It says that organizations should be harmonious systems. Members have common goals and values, and if we have a conflict, that means that something's wrong. This is abnormal and not the way that it's supposed to be, which means that our goal is to restore harmony, right? Like, we don't want to do anything. This is why it's just easier not to have these conversations or not to take them, because we think that they're inherently wrong. But what if there was a better way to think about this, or a different way? And there actually is. You can have a different perspective on conflict. And it's called conflict theory. And in conflict theory, we sort of are okay with the fact that conversations are actually systems of competing interests, right? Members have to navigate power structures and structural inequalities and figure out where their place is in this world. And in this world, if you see it this way, conflicts are natural and oftentimes inevitable. And actually, what they might be telling you is that there's a fault in your system somewhere. There's something that you need to take charge of, fix, and make better. So really, the goal in conflict theory is to address the root causes that we've got. And if we think this way, we're going to think about how we can cultivate this conflict culture. So we're going to start out by doing a little bit of a mind shift. I'm going to give you a few steps on what you need to do to sort of get to this new way of thinking. So the first one is really this mindset shift. So conflict isn't negative. We need to talk about it as something that's helping us view what our problems are and understand what's going wrong. It reveals what's not working in the system. So if we start talking about it this way, right, like, I'm not getting along with this person, or I have an issue, or we're not seeing eye to eye, great. What is that actually telling us? What does that have to do with what's going on? The next thing that we need to do is, though, also create spaces for having conversations where we can understand other people's point of view. So we don't wait until we're really at odds and at very totally different parts of the end of the spectrum, and now's when we need to see eye to eye to move forward. We create these opportunities all along the way. We want to be able to give folks the skill set and the ability that they need to have the conversations that they need to have to be able to understand different points of view and get a better feel for how to work better together and see different perspectives. You also want to develop the skills for having conflict. So if you look at the organization through a conflict perspective, you would know that conflicts are inevitable, which means that we need to know how to deal with them when they happen at the end of the day. So we plan for conflict management. We train people, not in just having maybe dialogues and mediation and conflict, but we also want to train people in listening to each other, empathy, finding common ground. So those are the skills that you really would need to have in order to have constructive conversations once you do have conflict in place. You also need to do something boring but important, which is setting agreements. So these are both for how you're going to be making decisions in your organization. These are oftentimes areas of contention and conflict. But then also, how will we resolve conflicts? How will we handle them? What if we don't ever agree, the two of us? Who's going to be the one who's going to be the tiebreaker? Or what does that look like? Or do we not do that? And finally, and most importantly, actually, is that you should be auditing your system. So if conflict might be a signal that something's wrong in your system, you can also be pretty proactive about looking at your system. So checking for conflict drivers. These could be anything from your power structures, the goals that you're giving different people in the organization. Sometimes it's the fact that one person gets conflicting goals from other people. So what is it that's going on in your organization that might create these tensions and space for conflicts? You don't just audit your system, of course, you also take appropriate action. So you want to do something about it, right? So this is what you need to do, at least to get a conflict culture. But if we start out with that thesis that with conflict theory, that organizations will inevitably have conflict, you actually do still need to prepare for difficult conversations. It's just that hopefully with a different mindset, you might not find them to be as hard. If we think about a conflict as an opportunity to improve, to make things better, to understand our system better, maybe that framing will help you have this conversation better. I still want to leave you, though, with some tools to help you prep for a hard conversation. My recommendation would be that you take maybe 20 minutes or so of your time when you're about to have a hard conversation. And my first 3 steps are really going to focus on also helping you figure out if this is a conversation you need to be having. So hopefully getting a better understanding for what's going on. So here's where you can start. Number 1, you want to know what you actually want out of this. So I would for sure write all of these things down on paper. Sometimes writing something down helps you concretize what you're feeling. So what's your purpose and your desired outcome from having this conversation or in this situation? Also, what's negotiable? Like, we're not always having to just do one thing and it's just like, binary 1 or a 0. There might be some shades of gray in there where you'd be willing to say, well, I'm willing to shift a little bit from how it is that I see this thing. I would also outline the risks and consequences of the situation. What happens if I don't deal with this situation, or if I don't do anything, or if I don't say anything in this situation? Once you've done that, and it's clear to you that this is still something that you should keep thinking about, I would then consider mapping out your system. So again, it goes hand in hand with auditing your system in the other step. You really want to understand, could there be something in my system that's actually creating some part of this problem, right? If I have a better understanding for that, maybe I'll have a better problem for why it is that we're having this conflict. So I would take the time to map power, roles, structural pressures that are maybe behind the conflict. You never know. It's possible that they're not, but you might uncover something, some truth about how your system is working. The third step is to sort of take perspective taking, step into that other person's shoes. What is it that they might be thinking about? What's their reality? What does this look like from their perspective? This is always just the second best way of going about things because you don't actually know what the other person's thinking. So you're going to try to take that perspective. But even better, I would write down a list of open questions that I might be able to ask that person once I finally have this conversation with them to try to understand their perspective and their point of view. Finally, if after you've done all this, you're still thinking, yep, this really is a conflict, this really is something that I need to do, I would really think about like regulating my own emotions here, right? I don't want to go into this conversation angry, unhappy, sad, hurt, victimized. Any of these are going to undermine the conversation that I'm about to have. You already have all of your data in the first 3 steps. You've got what are the things that are facts. You've got what are the things that you want to talk about, where the negotiation steps can be. You know what you can do to talk to the other person and get their perspective. So all you need to do now is make sure that you're understanding what your triggers are and make sure that you're having this conversation in a calm way. And remember, the reason why this is all great is because conflict is a signal that something's wrong, and this is going to give you the opportunity to work on it and to fix it. So I hope this helps you the next time they have a difficult conversation. Thank you very much.